What's good, gamers? What's good? My name is Dr. Ryan Terao, Psych Sensei here. I'm so excited to bring you the first episode of Q Up with my good friend Funz. We're just sitting in the queue. We're here to talk about him, his story, his mental, his experiences in the pro scene, the teen prodigy himself of Diamond Hands. Funz, what's good, buddy? How are you?
What up?
Funz, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Like how you got into the scene, how you got into gaming, all of it, bro.
Well, it all kind of started out, I think it was back in middle school. Basically, my uncle was visiting one time and he handed me a flash drive and was just like, hey, just plug it in and you'll see what happens. It ended up having Brood War on it. And you got to remember, like at the time, this was like when StarCraft 2 was being announced and like it was coming out and stuff. And not a lot of people were playing Brood War anymore. At least in my generation.
In my generation, yeah. Well, back in my day,
I played the heck out of Brood War. It was a lot of fun. I was very bad at it though. I always had to just mass sky units basically for every race. It didn't matter if it was Zerg, Protoss, or Terran. And then after playing Brood War for a while, I got into StarCraft 2, played through all the campaigns, and then saw on the launcher one day that Heroes of Storm is coming out. You know, I was a big StarCraft fan, and I saw they had StarCraft Heroes, so I started playing. Big Nova guy, by the way.
It's so funny though. I can literally see your uncle just giving you that flash drive of power and you holding it over your head like that South Park. Ah. You could have chosen many MOBAs, but you went with HOTS. Like, what is it about HOTS that you like?
I didn't really know about others at the time.
Oh,
not gonna lie. Because I started playing when I was like 14, 15.
Oh my God.
And also, HOTS was just a lot of fun, honestly. I thought about trying other MOBAs, but I just enjoy HOTS too much at the moment.
Did you ever try the League?
I have tried League. I had mixed feelings on it. I could already tell it was way more toxic than HOTS. Like, it was bad. I was playing like the most casual mode possible in League, besides ARAM. I was just playing like the blind pick, whatever, just trying to like learn mid, and it was rough to say the least.
Yo, speaking of rough, I don't think people understand though. Like you say you played Nova and HOTS when it first came out, but I don't think you told everyone what you were playing it with, man.
Oh, yeah. So it's kind of funny. I actually played Brood War and a bit of StarCraft on the trackpad.
Well, I didn't know that. I thought it was just HOTS.
I was just sitting there with my little trackpad, just one hand right here, just trying to, I was like sitting there. I was clicking Q, clicking W, because I didn't know about hotkeys. I was just a trackpad user.
So you played StarCraft 1 and 2 on a freaking trackpad. Then you went to HOTS and also a freaking trackpad.
Yeah.
Playing Nova, mind you, a cloak.
Yeah. I eventually did buy a mouse. I had to beg my parents. They were like, but you don't need a mouse. I ended up getting one, and it was so much easier.
So how did you like start HOTS? Did you jump straight into like Storm League? What was your mode that you really liked and started on?
Well, I actually started out just playing a lot of Quickmatch. Like, I think I actually learned a lot from Quickmatch. Like, that's kind of where I get my mental from. Because, like, there's nothing more chaotic than Quickmatch. Because, like, I enjoyed the game so much, just the heroes, like, just playing the game, I learned to try to like thrive in that chaos. That's why I played a lot of Illidan when I first started playing, a lot of Zeratul. That's why I love melee assassins, because melee assassins and quick match are scary to say the least.
Tell us a little bit more about that mental that you developed in the chaos that is Quickmatch.
Well, one thing I really like about Quickmatch is because of how chaotic and like how different it is from, say, competitive or even just ranked. You tend to have to think about the game a lot. You have to think of the game instead of one tank, one healer, 2 DPS, off lane versus, that. You have like literally 5 random heroes versus 5 other heroes. So you have to like learn all these different matchups that don't necessarily help with competitive, but it makes you think about the game in a completely different way. And it kind of made me love, I call it the science part of HOTS. I got it from Justin. The science and the theory crafting all kind of came from Quickmatch, because I'd be sitting there playing against Butcher, Zeratul, Maiev, Diablo, and I'm like, all right, what can I do this game to win? Because the situations are so chaotic and so different every.
I can only imagine when you start queuing up for Storm League and you see like, oh, I guess everyone's locking in a freaking assassin with no healer. I got this, no problems. So tell us more about that science. Like, what do you mean the science behind the game? What do you mean?
Well, I actually think this is something that's super underrated in HOTS. A lot of people view HOTS as like easy MOBA, right? Because there's no items, team-wide leveling. But I actually think HOTS, like, at least team play wise, might be one of the hardest MOBAs, like team play wise, because if just one of your players is not on the same page, you literally just lose the game. pretty much. I think the science in HOTS comes mostly from drafting. I actually think drafting in HOTS is super hard. And the science kind of comes from just playing different heroes. Like, I love to play Kira, for example. Not a lot of people play that hero. So, like, situationally, she's super strong. You obviously have to find those situations. It's pretty rare. It's more so like the science is basically finding heroes that aren't as popular, but can be a really strong impact in draft, like a very strong pocket pick.
Tell us a little bit more about what makes HOT such a different MOBA where it's more team-based. I've been trying to tell people why it's so challenging, and they're like, oh, that's such a casual MOBA. It's like, no, you don't understand. Everyone needs to work together. Can you speak a little bit about that, dude?
My Storm League teammates might disagree with me, but it's super hard to win the game 4v5. That's all I'm going to say. It mostly stems from the lack of individuality in HOTS, I would say. Like, for example, if you're a pro LCS player and you hop on a Smurf and you play League, you're going to get 30 kills. You're going to have 6 slots by whatever minutes. You're just going to hard carry the game, basically. You can't really do that in HOTS. It's a lot more team driven. That's why, like, if I did have a Smurf, I'm not going to confirm or deny. When I do queue up, I usually look to make the game easier for my teammates, if that makes sense.
Ooh.
Like, I'll spam ping, type in chat. I find that's way easier to win in HOTS than focusing on like individuality because of how important team play is and working as a unit rather than like individual.
Tell us, Funz, then, pinging and chatting, what's the difference between what you're trying to do and how could it be perceived by others as like toxic or whatever? How do you draw that line?
Try to keep it like as objective as possible. One, do not point anybody out. Oh my God, if you do, it just falls apart. I've seen it so many times in my games where one player points out another player and they just sit there and talk the rest of the game. You want to try to keep it as objective as possible. Don't like single out anybody and keep it a little bit positive. If you stick to neutral, people can perceive that as negative in my experiences. For example, if I'm saying, we really need to push the objective, guys, people can see that as, oh, this guy is bossing me around. But like, if you instead go for more of, hey, if we push, I think we can get maybe a keep here, be really good advantage. That's more perceived as, oh, this guy, you know, he's trying to get us an advantage for the team. He's trying to like help us out a little bit. It's all about perception. It's kind of like you're a therapist every time you queue up for me, but it gets you more wins, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think also what you're pointing out is the way that you kind of deliver that message wasn't not like, okay, you guys are dog shit, let's push. It's kind of like, okay, if we push this, we can also get that. So it's also in your benefit to do this thing. Just from your name, Funz, like, how did you get Funz, man?
It's kind of a dumb story. So I started off with Raw Door B, which is actually Brute War backwards, just because I like Brute War a lot. I wanted to change my name as I started getting into HOTS, like the competitive scene. Like I started playing in NGS, like all the amateur stuff. My first teammate, no one probably remembers him, but his name is Cubico. I was talking to him and I was like, dude, I need a name. I'm thinking like something short, maybe something that rhymes. I don't know what to do, man. I can't think of a name. He's like, about Fun Buns. And I was like, sure, let's just change it to Fun Buns. And I went by that for a while, but I kind of got a little insecure trying to explain like what I do in my free time to like my high school friends. So I shortened it to Funz just because I don't want to have to explain what Fun Buns means.
Oh my God. Could I have a small little snippet of how you would have explained that? So like, hey man, what do you do on the weekend? What's this thing you do?
You know, I play some video games, makes a little bit of money, and then they're like, oh, what's your tag? I go by Fun Buns.
Yeah, it's really killer, man. I'm actually like,
and then
really,
they
really
always
good.
ask for explanation, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I thought it was dumb. I thought it was funny.
Shout out to Cubico for bestowing you the name, knighting you the Fun Buns. Did he give you any more like, yeah, I thought of this name because you're fun and you like hot dogs, so...
It was more so I was like throwing words at him that I was trying to rhyme, and I probably put in some like random word generator, and like Buns came up, and he was like, "What about Fun?" And then, you know, I had to put that Z in there, of course.
Word.
For that player.
I feel you. Speaking of fun, I feel like just like talking with you, that's kind of how you approach this game. So how do you maintain that sense of, you know, enjoyment or fun even when the game isn't going the way that you want it to go?
So for me, if I feel like I'm playing to the best of my abilities, I really don't care how the game is. That's something I actually struggle with as a player. For example, last CCL weekend, which was like 2 days ago on Sunday, we beat GG 3-2, but I was pretty disappointed. Probably too disappointed because, you know, we got the dub, should be happy. But I felt like overall throughout the series, my play was pretty inconsistent. I think I worry about that too much, honestly. I've also found I've played better when I'm having fun, which is kind of weird. my new teammates, Onyx slash Diamond Hands now, they've noticed that too early on. Because like on Wild Heart, I was always having a good time. It was such a blast to play on Wild Heart. And then I came over here and like, we're a new team. We're like trying to build synergy. There was like a very stark contrast between Bad Benny, our tank. He's like an EU HEC player. There was a very big difference between him like shot calling and drafting for the team and doing like boring comps, quote unquote, compared to what we're doing kind of now where we mix it up a little bit more. I give him some of my theory crafting ideas. Not all of them are good, but I give them to him. It makes me have a way better time. And it makes me play better, I've noticed, which is kind of weird.
So it sounds like when you're having fun, that's when you play better. So for you, what's the difference between fun and seriousness, I guess? Is there a difference for you?
I think those things actually go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
With
Okay.
being competitive. It kind of goes back to that if I'm playing to the best of my abilities. Like, I like to pride myself in having a big hero pool. If I'm sitting there, like, playing the same 3 heroes every game, I feel like I have more potential to form with, like, trying different heroes. That it goes back to that science part. That's whenever my mental starts getting kind of not bad, but it starts lowering because like the issue we had is Bad Benny's ex-HEC. Like this man was living my dream. Like my man was making that money playing video games, and it was a different beast. It was a lot more serious, a lot more cutthroat, you could say, and that's why like at first we kind of had the misunderstandings. I came after HEC, so like I'm sitting here trying to have a good time and body some noobs basically. He's sitting there like super serious. We're gonna run these macro comps. We're gonna execute them perfectly, no mistakes. That kind of play style, it's good. Don't get me wrong. It's fine. If it works, it works. I don't think that's the best way to play HOTS. I think it's way more enjoyable if you have a fun team environment, just a bunch of people having a good time, enjoying the game. And I think that goes way longer than sweating it out every day and just trying to be perfect.
Interesting. So instead of just having that, we have to do all, it's the grind, it's all these things, it's not so fun and enjoyable for you. You don't perform well. But when there's this more open, I like playing with these people, I enjoy playing the game, it allows you to be more free and have fun and actually perform better. Is there anything that you found to help that experience be more fun for you?
I've been trying to be more exciting in comms, I guess you could say. I consider myself pretty emotional sometimes. I get way too into games. It's a double-edged sword. It could be a really good thing to have that player that's like, Pog, let's go! But then at the same time, like sometimes that player can negatively impact the team. So I try to focus on complimenting like good plays, being like, we're owning these people, stuff like that. I try to be more vocal and more open, I guess, more having a good time and sharing it with the teammates and comms.
I think something that you said was really, really interesting is like, it's good if I can use my emotions this way to kind of prop my team up. But at the same time, you recognize that it can also be a double-edged sword where if you let the negative emotions come out, it could also bring your team down. It's impressive how aware you are of your impact that your emotions may have on your teammates. I think that's really, really cool. Where did you like pick that up?
I think a lot of it comes from Wild Heart, honestly.
Tell us your experience about Wild Heart, because I know that's something that was like really forming for you.
Well, it all started out when CCL Season 1 got announced. There was these exhibition tournaments where basically each org would hand select 5 players to play on a team, and those 5 players would go against another org's 5 players they selected. It was all for scouting purposes, basically. Like, there wasn't no money or anything. We're all doing it because we love the game. We want to get drafted. At the time, Wildheart wasn't really considering me, but there wasn't really better options to scout, so they kind of just threw me on the scout team. To kind of walk you through it, Game 1 was a little bit back and forth, but the other team looked pretty dominant. Game 2, I actually played out of my mind. It was one of my best games I've ever played, I think. I was playing Urel against Dayquaza, which Dayquaza at the time, he was considered top tier, like S tier EU offlane, and I was like D tier NA amateur offlaner. And I was bodying him, or okay, I don't want to say bodying, but I was dominating the matchup whenever the matchup was favored for him. Because he was playing D.Va, I was playing Urel. Nowadays, D.Va always wins that matchup. And we ended up winning that game. And then game 3, I was told to early pick a Sonya and got farmed all game by Fury Gyarados.
Sweet.
The reason why Wildheart started looking at me, because my comms in those games were very vocal and very level-headed. Like, no matter when we were behind or ahead or whatever, I was always like looking forward, trying to look for that next play. I think the game 3 was the funniest one, so I died 7 times. At the end of the core, I was at 6 deaths when they were pushing us down, and They watched my Twitch VOD back and laughed at me for it. Basically, my comms at that moment was, dang, I'm at 6th deaths. I looked really bad this exhibition scouting, but maybe I can defend the core here. I walked in out of the hearth, died instantly. That's where I got the 7 deaths from. Oh,
That's a drop the mic, walk off homer. Like, yep, that's it. I did it.
Yeah. So Justin, he's actually the captain / scouter / drafter for Wild Heart. He was actually checking my VODs back for a completely different person. I think it was Carbon at the time. He ended up getting really interested in me after watching it. He ended up like asking people around, like, hey, what does this guy play? Found out I used to play DPS way back in the day before offlane. And he saw I like to play a lot of flex DPS. And at the time, flex DPS players were very rare. There was like only range. At the time, the meta was 2 range instead of like 1 range with flex. So he ended up picking me up specifically to flex and to develop me. It was a risk. Like, I hella respect Wildheart for taking that risk. The backup plan, if I didn't work out, was bench me, put Buds in at DPS, and then their 6th pick would be a support player that could hop in and play, basically. But they ended up liking the stuff I did. They helped me develop a lot. I feel like I'm a way better HOTS player now than before Season 1. They taught me a lot about team environments, specifically. Like, I think Wildheart has the best team environment out of all teams. Sorry, Diamond Hands. Not bad.
It's I mean, at least that's a standard that Diamond Hands can grow into, you know?
Yeah, actually, I talked to Goon the other day about spreading the Wild Heart team psychology and stuff. It was a really enjoyable conversation.
Twice now, something I think that kind of sets you apart from these other players, especially on these teams, is your ability to kind of be that voice in comms, either shot calling or keep the emotions even keeled or keep that positivity rolling. And some players might just think, I just need to get really good. It doesn't matter if I'm toxic as or whatever. I just need to be the top on the board. It doesn't matter. It's all about the stats or what have you. But I think something that you're highlighting is, no, to be a really good player on this level, you have to be not only mechanics or knowledge-wise, but you have to be a good team player. What other things would you say are like some of your strengths that you bring to the table as a player, Funz?
I would say draft flexibility. If we're talking more side, I like to consider myself like almost a secondary shot caller. I've tried multiple times trying to step up, be the man, like be the guy, the shot caller. It's very hard to do. So I've kind of developed almost a secondary shot caller where basically I look to make suggestions. For example, say we're playing a game, trying to push or something. I'm like, hey, can we do bruiser here or stuff like that? Or hey, maybe we could do boss here. Basically make those suggestions so I'm not responsible.
Key. And, just throwing ideas out there. If you do it, that's on you. That's on you.
Yeah. It makes my mental better, I'd say. Because I found the worst feeling in the world in HOTS is making a shot call that goes horribly wrong. Like, I've done it a few times, and I'm like, this feels so bad.
I feel you. I've been that person many a times with my friends. Like, oh, we should take boss here. Yeah, about that. Sorry, guys. My bad.
It feels so rough, dude. Because it's like, there's nothing to blame. Like, you made the decision. It's hard.
Nothing more painful than that silence in the comms, watching your Nexus get taken. All I can say is, yeah, about that one. Yeah, next one. Let's, my bad. We did it. We went together, though, right, guys? Yeah.
I hella respect any shot caller, any region, wherever you're at. It's a tough, man.
What do you think would help you kind of develop into that shot caller where even if you do make a bad call, you still can own it and feel good?
I think having a solid team environment structure, bunch of good attitudes, always looking for the next play, stuff like that, and also understanding. I actually think team environment's very underrated in HOTS because you got to keep in mind we're in a game where 5 different people sitting at home, looking at a screen and just trying to communicate through Discord or something. Since COVID, I've found it's way different than talking in person or talking. Even right now. Yeah, I see you. We're hanging out. It's not the same as in person.
It's not the same.
A team that can communicate effectively and well, not just on team comms and stuff, but also just emotionally, strategically, theory crafting, being able to communicate through Discord and like just talking to them, not even seeing them in person. I think that's an underrated strength to have.
Team environment is really really important, and like having that communication style of being together seems to be really helpful. I'm wondering too, like the pro scene, like what have you noticed some of the challenges are that you had to overcome? Because I'm thinking that we have a lot of people watching this thing like, oh, how do I get to his level? So what is the pro scene like, bro?
I think the pro scene has a lot of misconceptions. So I think the first one I want to touch on is what people call gatekeeping. It happens in every pro scene. Really sad, honestly. It's understandable though. 'Cause you gotta understand, like, these are people that want to hang out with their friends and want to make some money, right? It happens a lot in HOTS. I actually experienced it myself a few times. It took me a long time to break into the scene. Like, the only reason I got into the scene was Wildheart, pretty much. I spent a long time like grinding out the NGS, the amateur scene, stuff like that. But it was very hard to like go get those reps in, against good teams. Because, good teams are going to scrim good teams. And they're only going to pick up players that they know or that are established. So it makes it very challenging to kind of enter the scene as a new player because of how much like networking and connections matter in the pro scene. On the flip side, I've been noticing that there is misunderstanding with free agents. I feel like both sides are wrong. One, gatekeeping way too much. But on the flip side, like, I don't think people understand that there is a process. You can't just play some Storm League and then sign up for CCL and then like, come on guys, get me drafted. I understand gatekeeping is very harsh, very challenging, and very frustrating. I know I experienced a lot of that frustration, but even if there is gatekeeping, like, I feel like there's still a process.
When you say like gatekeeping, what do you mean?
So by gatekeeping, it's basically established pros who like got in early and are trying to keep themselves established in whatever game or pro scene, and basically not giving new players a chance. My issue I've been seeing is new players, like, they don't seem to want the chance, or like, I want to see that grind, basically. Like, I want it to not be hard to get into the, but I also want there to be like an established process. Like, I want to see, like, you have to play a season at NGS. Like, you don't have to, but it's recommended. Get that synergy, start building the teams. You start off dual queuing HOTS. Then all of a sudden you're triple queuing. You're 4-stacking. Then all of a sudden you're 5-stacking. You're like, why don't we just sign up? And then now you sign up for NGS. You get hard-bodied and lose 12 games in a row, but you're like, man, I really want to improve now. And then you and your buddies sit there and grind and get better. Like, to me, that is the process. But a lot of people are missing that process, which actually might come from gatekeeping, possibly. I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding.
So it sounds like for you, it would be really nice if there was some type of linear, here's the check boxes, do these things as recommended, kind of a step-by-step, clearly delineated thing.
Yeah, having that drive is important. Very important for honestly, anything you do in life. There's a big difference between having drive in whatever job, game you're playing, and just kind of, I guess I'll queue up. I guess I'll go to my job. I think having that drive is important. I think that's something some players lack in the free agent.
How do you keep that drive for yourself?
Well, I mean, I just enjoy the game. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. I think the competition keeps my drive alive for sure. I used to play football since I was 7 years old, all the way up into sophomore year of high school, where I actually ended up quitting because I had to get a job and like help support the family and stuff. I've always been in competitions. I've always been very competitive. I love the grinds. The grind's one of my favorite things. That's kind of what keeps my drive going in HOTS. I'm always trying to beat Cure. I'm always trying to beat all those pro players and stuff. And that's what kind of keeps me going. And plus the community as well. The community has been so nice. I think we have a very special community out here.
I agree. This, the love of the game really pushes you forward, and the community. I'm wondering though, what helps you continue that drive to push forward, even though sometimes you may not feel like it? I
would say taking a step back and reanalyzing the situation. I've had plenty of moments in HOTS where it felt like the world was ending and I'm like, this stinks. I hate this. But if you take a step back in those situations, reanalyze it with a more like level head, it's really not as bad as it sucks to lose like 10 Storm Leagues in a row or go down 3-0, but you got to just keep looking forward. And if you do hit that wall or that thought where you just don't feel motivated, try to think back to like why you started in the place. If I ever feel super unmotivated, what I'll do is I'll look back, I'll go on YouTube or Twitch and I'll find past games, past series, and look back and be like, man, I was pogging. I love this game, revitalize that motivation a little bit.
I like that. Just taking a step back with time and noticing like it's not all bad. And your motivation tactic is going back to some other things that you've really done. You're like, wow, I've actually grown, or damn, I'm still kind of poggers at this thing. I should keep going. That's really cool, man. Something else that I'm really interested in is like, you say that you have a really big champion pool. Who would you say are like your signature like heroes?
It's weird because my signature hero literally changes on how I'm feeling.
I mean, your Wikipedia says it's Lily right now. It was Lily and somebody else, I think. Cure wasn't even on there.
I gotta spill some secrets
Ooh.
that maybe misconceptions. I never actually practiced Lily that much. Okay, this is what happened. I think I could talk about it. Yeah, I mean, it was past season. We were playing a scrim one time, and Justin was doing his science, the mad scientist, and he was like, Funz, why don't you play Lily? And I was just like giggling, like, okay, dude, whatever you want, sure. And I looked at the talents, and I was just like, all right, I think this is the best build. I'll go cleanse, of course. And I just held Q down and was annoying as possible. And we were like, pretty good,
Nice. Works.
pretty good. And then we just started playing it in scrims, and I never really practiced it outside of that. And we ended up winning some CCL games with it. But as far as like signature hero, it's hard for me to like pinpoint because I love so many heroes. Like back in the day, it used to be Zeratul. I was playing Zeratul all the time. I think he's still one of my highest leveled heroes, even though I don't play him that much anymore. Now, if we go back to when I was solo lane, I love Durell. Very fun hero. I think she has really interesting mechanics because all of her abilities always have like this draw up time, and then you have your trait, which can make whatever ability you need at the time
Instant.
to pass instantly and stuff. And then now, if we're looking more maybe this season or as a DPS player, I'd probably have to go with Kira right now. I've been loving the hero recently. Been trying to play her in Storm League and stuff. It always changes all the time.
Oh my
And it
god.
just kind of depends how I'm feeling, honestly.
Oh, so I see Akira like insta-lock. I'm like, fuck. Okay, here we go. All right, here
I
we
don't
go.
blame you. I don't blame you, man.
It's no funds is Kira. That's why. It's no funds is Kira.
I think she needs a buff, honestly. Obviously biased, but I think she needs one small buff somewhere in her
Where would you put it?
because maybe like just a small health buff or just a lower cast time on one of her abilities. Like I would like to see her trait cast instantly or be interruptible because all her abilities feel so important to her kit to the point where if you miss one ability, it feels like you just lose the game. Like if you compare that to like Cassia, like we'll see CCL Cassia's miss literally every Q in the game, and then they'll still just hard body team fights. I just feel like the execution on Kira is so high and the reward isn't as high. She might not need a buff, I could be wrong, but I feel like a small buff somewhere would go a very long ways.
Walk me through your mindset of how you conceptualize or think about Kira, because I think she's such a unique hero where you have to balance auto attacking because she's not a ranged hero. Like she's like in your face trying to hit people, and then the mechanic to keep her alive is the bleed. So how do you think about her? What's the mindset going into locking in someone like Kira?
It's a lot of limit testing. She thrives in scenarios where the enemy like can't really run away, if that makes sense. Like with Kira, if you're fighting front to back, she just isn't the best hero in that situation. She is way stronger in games where there's a lot of flank potential, a lot of easy trading going on, because Kira is very weird for a melee assassin. If you compare her to, say, Maev, for example, Maev is that flanking style, but she's not really a trade hero compared to Kira. With Kira, you have to combine a lot of different mindsets with Kira. The first one being you want to dive and get on the back line. You know, every melee assassin can do that. The second one being you want to have favorable trades that will set you up for the future. Say I go in, I chunk, Medivh throws a portal down, they leave. Okay, I'm ready to go again. Now they have no portal, they're chunked, let's go again. She's a lot stronger at trading compared to other melee assassins, but she's also very punishing if you miss abilities. I try to play very patient, very trade focused, and very flank focused. That's usually my mind state going into Kira games.
Something that I want to highlight for everyone that's listening, what's really important, one, to be a good player like Funz, having that mindset of learning, moving forward, thinking about how you want to play the game as a player. I think what Funz does really well as he's a great player is that he's actually thinking about the mindset of each hero that he's playing and trying to doing what that hero wants to do, not necessarily what he wants to do, but what that hero wants to do. Some things that he's highlighted with Kira is being patient, making sure he hits all these abilities, because if he doesn't, it's going to be a bad time. So one thing that you said there was being patient. How are you able to stay so patient, especially when things get so chaotic?
Honestly, I'm not sure because usually patience is not my thing. Not
Dude,
gonna lie.
I'm asked you because that's not my thing either, bro. So I'm just like, dude, I gotta ask you, how do you do it?
For me, at least, I like doing the patient thing because the reward is very nice. You know, the reward is you get the kill, you get the win. It also like it feels very rewarding to just analyze the game that way as well. Being like, okay, they still have these abilities up. Let's chill for a bit. Maybe look for another opportunity, stuff like that. You have to be very analytical, and I guess that kind of keeps me busy, so I don't feel the impatientness because staying busy with thinking.
In those moments in your head, are you calculating like, okay, I know a Nubrak's dig is on this amount of cooldown. I have this much time. Like, are you that cognizant of every single hero's cooldown timings?
I wouldn't say I know to a
The
T.
correct
It's
answer is
more
yes,
like
Funds. It's like, yes, I do. But go on.
yes. Mentally.
Absolutely. I know all the
I actually
cooldowns.
have a list in my head.
Exactly.
It's more so of a feeling because
Okay.
I used to play tank. I used to play off lane, so I know a lot of those big cooldowns those like engaged heroes have. So most of the time, I'm able to like tell what they're thinking in a fight. Another thing that's more important to me is watching positioning. No team is perfect. They're gonna make position mistakes. They're gonna make misplays. And that's when you really want to capitalize on Kira. Like that's when it's like, all right, this is my one moment I can do well on this dumb hero named Kira.
So really being cognizant of the timings, having those feelings and looking for people that just get out of position or get caught out. Those are times for you to shine. Something that is really interesting to me because you're such a flex player. What do you think that makes you different being a flex and not like a specialist in either a one trick or DPS or what have you?
With Flex and why Flex is not really special, but it's a very interesting role to me. With Flex, if your last pick, you can pick any hero in the game. With the Flex position, if you draft correctly, you can literally pick any hero in the game. Does that mean I'm going to be playing last pick Murky? No. But with Flex, it makes me feel so confident being able to just like, all right, I think Zeratul looks really good here. Let's pick Zeratul. And that's why I love the flex role so much right now. I've thought about switching to tank for season 3, not really flirting with it too much just because I like flex so much. But I don't know. I just feel like being so flexible, it really instills confidence.
I can only imagine when it comes to your turn in the draft and the draft is looking one way and you're like, you know what? Murky looks good here. What? What do you mean? No. Trust me. Like Murky looks real good here. All right, let's pick it. Like, how do those conversations goes when you have like an outside the box idea?
Well, most of the time, the ideas get shot down. I like to consider myself a thinker, but let's just say about 90% of the stuff I think of might not be the best. But hey, that 10% that comes up feels good. So usually how like draft conversation goes, I'll give suggestions. Like we have the main drafter, and I like to just give suggestions to the drafter. Like, hey, I think I could play a good Zeratul here, or a good Vala, or something like that. And then usually, like they'll think about it, and they'll tell me not to pick that hero. No, I'm just playing. They'll usually consider it, think about it, because like most of the time we have like a pre-played draft plan that we'll usually try to stick to. But like if we see something better, we're not just gonna stick to the data. We're gonna try it out, see how it feels.
So there is this flexibility in the draft. Something else that we kind of talked about earlier was how did you kind of progress by thinking about how you think about the game, progressing from an individual hero to now a pair of heroes? How did that game knowledge take off in your head?
I probably think about this game way too much, honestly. It's so ingrained in my head, which I guess thank God I'm a Zoomer, maybe, because I've literally been playing throughout most of my teenage years.
Have you ever dreamt about the game?
No, actually.
Oh,
I've never
dang.
dreamt about HOTS. I think about the game a lot, and I think the early quick match mentality also helped out a lot. I love sciencing the game. I love the theory crafting. Like that part of HOTS is so enjoyable to me. I think that's kind of where I come from. Like that quick match mentality. Just gonna ooga booga, go ham as hell, and just see what can happen.
Yup. Objective. Fuck that, man. I'm going for this kill.
Yeah.
How do you maintain your sense of confidence throughout your games? Because I think that's so critical for most players to have is that sense of confidence of going in and that they're going to do well, they feel good. How do you do that for yourself?
It's actually something I think I learned from watching one of your streams. I'm pretty sure you talked about having a routine.
Yes, I did.
Right?
I did. Oh my gosh, she's
Yeah.
listening. Yes, I did.
I didn't get to watch a lot of your streams, but like when I saw you posting Heroes Hearth, I like tuned in a little bit. I actually started keeping a routine for CCL games.
Nice.
I wake up. I try to make sure I wake up before noon at least, because it's Saturday or Sunday. I like to spin, man. You want to chill. But I remember you talking about how like you need a few hours for your brain to like actually be in full capacity mode, like full 100%. Let's go. So I give myself a few hours before CCL. This isn't exactly like a nutritionist wouldn't recommend this, but I drink one energy drink about an hour or two before warm-ups. I found if I drink it right before warm-ups or right before CCL, I'm like, ooh, caffeine. Get way too jittery. So I drink like an energy drink. It just makes me feel more alert. It just makes me feel more ready. And then I like to hang out outside for a few minutes, just get some sunshine, play with the dog. We have this system we have where instead of warming up, until our CCL game, like 5 minutes before. We cut off warm-ups 30 minutes before CCL.
I like
Which
that.
might sound weird, right? Like you might get cold, but for me, I think it's way stronger because you get like these 30 minutes to just almost get in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
I do what I used to do for football, where I'll listen to very loud music
Oh, hell
with a
yeah.
lot of profanity, kind of get into that like let's go, let's get it kind of zone, and then I'll hang up my dog and stuff and just chill out and vibe. Don't get too nervous.
I love that. Well, first of all, I love it because you listen to the stream. And also, the thing with caffeine, interestingly, is that it depends on the person. And also how that person is tolerant to caffeine. Because if you and I drink the same amount of caffeine, we're going to get different effects because size, tolerance, etc. And also, glad that you know your caffeine routine too, because it's amount and dose per person. As long as you understand that's part of your routine, when you want to take it, how it affects you, I think that's the best. I think it'd be more dangerous if you said like, I don't know, I just drink it because Monster says I should drink it. Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Not sponsored by Monster, by the way.
But yo, shout out to Monster if
Unless
you guys want to sponsor us. Yeah, shout out.
Please, Monster.
Please, I mean, at least a hoodie. I mean, I'll take some UFC shorts. I don't anything. A mug, please. Anything.
We're desperate out here. We're Hots fans.
We desperate. So confidence for you is having this routine, being consistent. Do you have a routine for your practices or Storm League matches or whatever you want to call them? Do you have any routines for practice?
That's actually something I've been trying to work on recently. My mental and practice has been pretty inconsistent. A lot of that's due to I graduated in 9 days.
Whoop, whoop.
It's been a very hectic school year with like online classes and stuff. I've found as much as like I play video games and just hang out with people in Discord and stuff, I can't do school online. No way. I need that in person.
Yo, I
need that like hanging out with friends during lunch and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know I probably sound like a baby, but like
no,
I felt like
dude,
depressed, man. It was so bad this year.
Yo, I don't know how
I'm doing
you
a
guys
lot better
do it.
now, though.
I would not have survived high school or school in general. I would not have learned poop. I would have learned a lot of things by Control F. I don't know how you are like you and your generation of like graduating seniors or people in high school are able to like stay engaged and actually care for the learning. So this pandemic was pretty. I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel that.
It's been pretty rough. But like I've just been trying to focus on HOTS. Obviously, I want to graduate first. So between like school and stuff, I haven't really had time to develop routine for scrims. But after I graduate, that's actually something I'm going to work on for sure. Like I want to be consistent in scrims. I think that's something I actually struggle with is consistency. Like I think I play way better in CCL than Storm League or scrims for sure.
Something else that you're saying, like you're straddling, graduating, real life, and games. How have you seen what you've learned or how you've grown in games, and how does it relate to your life or how you see it playing out IRL?
I feel like one thing in HOTS that is helping me now and in my future is network. Networking is surprisingly important in HOTS. I've always thought that like skill will speak for itself, like in the real world and in HOTS and everything. But I found that it's way more enjoyable to like make those connections with people in your field or in your game, for example, and just have a good time. Like you can apply this to work as well. It's just not as fun to like, I guess I'll queue up for HOTS or, oh, it's 8 a.m. I guess I'll go to my job. I gotta get money. I feel like it's way better if you have those connections, those networking, like get you the job you want, get that position you want, be with the people you want to be with, And I feel like that's something I want to apply to my future, like IRL, that I kind of learned from HOTS.
I really like that perspective of, I really wanted to find things that I enjoy doing, not just for the money. It'd be nice that money is there, but it sounds like you really want to do the things that you're passionate about. With that passion or with that excitement for the games, what would you say to people who are scared to get out there to network for themselves?
You just got to go for it. It is very,
Wait, did you just say don't be a bitch? Is that what I heard? I heard that from
No.
That's a direct
you
quote.
Gotta go for it. You gotta go for it. Hold on, check the VOD.
Okay, I watched that, but I heard don't be a bitch. That's a fun quote.
It is scary. Like change is something no one likes. Like for example, one thing I had to go through fairly recently with HOTS, I actually got moved from flex position to being like on the bench, subbing for Wildfire. There's no bad blood. Like I'm always gonna love that team. I'm always gonna love the boys and everything. But I felt like in order to better my future in the HOTS scene, one, I want to compete. I want to be out there playing. I actually talked to Wildheart and I told them, hey, I really want to look for these other opportunities. If I do look for these other opportunities, would y'all still be okay like picking me up if I fall flat on my face? And the beautiful thing is they gave me that opportunity. They told me, Funz, just go out there, man. Try get on that roster, and if you need to come back and just sub, like no worries, man. That kind of gave me the confidence to get out there, start scouting, start talking to orgs and stuff. That's kind of how we ended up on Diamond Hands. It's been a very, very interesting journey. The journey's not over yet,
Oh, it's
but
not. No.
I don't regret the decision, and I'm happy to make more decisions like that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm checking chat, and Better Looking Around says this guy has a better speaking and mindset than most 30-year-olds, and I have to agree with him about this mindset, your perspective of life, and the way that you see opportunities. The one word that kind of comes to my mind is almost like fearlessness. So how did you develop this fearlessness to go out there and go do it?
I'll tell you a little secret. I am not fearless at all.
Oh,
I feel like something that society, not even just society, people in general just kind of overthink. To be a man, you got to have no fear. You got to be a man. I feel like fear is just an emotion everybody has. And it's not more so like conquering your fears, it's more so just dealing with it, you know?
Damn, that's deep as fuck.
That was too deep for me,
Damn,
honestly.
I love it. Keep it coming, dude.
It's not about like conquering or hiding that fear or keeping it away from you. You gotta learn to live with it. And then another thing that actually helps me more mature, I guess, and more socialized was getting a job. I actually started working at 15. I've worked part-time at Jersey Mike's. It's like a little sub shop since 15, and I only recently quit about 5 weeks ago.
Wow, that is
So
impressive.
We basically worked at a part-time job for about 3 years throughout high school.
Damn. And if you are on Funz' team now, you can tell him to literally make you a sandwich, and will ask you which one.
I'm very good. I'm very good. Not even joking.
Getting this job, like, how has that shaped your mentality or quote fearlessness? Because you say it's not that you're afraid, but it's something that you deal with and kind of embrace and lean into.
For a bit of context, up until that point in my life, all I've ever done was school and football. So like, I've never really had a broad understanding of the world because like all I did was like hang out with football friends, watch YouTube videos, play some PS4, whatever. And that's kind of all I really knew. But whenever, my family started having financial problems and I just really wanted to help out, and I ended up like in that job, it opened up a lot of different perspectives. And it introduced me to a lot of different people as well. It gave me a new perspective on life. Like I know how it feels to be treated like crap by people. And I know how it feels to be treated great by people. Dude, when people come in and are nice as hell to me and like ask me how my day is, that literally makes my day. That's one thing I actually missed about my job is some of the customers and some of the coworkers. It's so weird how just one person can make or break your day. Like if you have someone come in early and is like yelling their head off for some reason, it's so bad. It kind of made me understand the different cogs of society or whatever you want to call it. I think that's what kind of helped. It also socialized me a lot. Because when I first started working, you want to know how I talk to customers?
Yeah, I do.
I talk to them like I would talk to my football coach. So I'd be like, "Do you want that mic sway, sir?" And that just doesn't work. It does not work.
Please tell me how to whistle bad. Too. Just.
No, it was so embarrassing. And I learned to use a more softer voice. Like it'd be more like, "Welcome in. Did you want that mic sway today?" Like a more high pitch, kind of soft voice. I found that works a lot better. I also taught me how to make my voice carry on because of how freaking loud it is. Like you have to really know how to project your voice.
So you heard it first too. Get a job, says Funz. The takeaways from this talk is don't be a bitch, 1, and 2, get a freaking job.
Now, hold on. Don't be afraid to leave the job.
Oh, that's facts.
Leaving my job was very spooky, I guess, because I had so many close friends there. I literally still miss them, but we still hang out once in a while. And the reason I left is because my passion was gone. Like I had no drive left. I had no drive for a long time. The only reason I stuck around was for my future and because I enjoyed working with people. Don't feel trapped. When I put my 2 weeks in, they're like, "No, here's a 50-cent raise. You'll get to choose your own schedule," is what they told me. And I was just like, "Nah, man, I think it's time to move on. Start a new chapter. Focus more on, making content like this. Like this is something I could never do when I had my job because, I'd be working right now." Mm-hmm. Don't feel tied down to your job, especially if it's fast food.
I'm just so curious. Because I think sometimes even playing esports, or I think even when like traditional athletes hit that spot of like, it's time to be done. I see it a lot in UFC where people are like, it's time. How were you able to be okay with that and just let that thing go without being like, oh, but I have to do it for other people. But you, for yourself, were like, it's time. That meme from Kung Fu Panda, the tortoise. It's time for me to do
Time.
this.
I felt very selfish for a long time. I'm not gonna lie. When I put my 2 weeks in, basically we like everyone's going through this right now. It was basically the start of not being able to find people to work. Like that's what the economy is kind of going through right now. I don't know
Hmm.
if you've heard a bit about it,
Oh, a little bit, a little
but
bit.
basically the companies that are like, here's $8 an hour, go support your 5-person family. They're getting cucked right now because they rather just not do that. The wages are just not enough to support a family right now. That's why like there's a lot of hiring issues going on. Like we're still short staffed. I felt very selfish. I'm not
Mm.
gonna lie, but I felt like mentally I couldn't handle it anymore. I swear to God, as soon as I put my last day in, I felt so much more peaceful. I felt just more motivated. It's gonna feel selfish, like it's gonna feel bad, but once you get that relief, you're gonna realize like it was worth it. What I've been doing is whenever I hang out with my old work buddies, try to let them have relief from their stressful job. And that's kind of how I've been making myself feel a little better. And I also stayed for extra shifts after my 2 weeks just to help them out. Like I'd work a day here, 2 days there. But now I'm officially official.
I think it's really interesting how you might have had to deal with that feeling of selfishness versus I need to do this for me.
I struggled with it for a lot. I've thought about quitting for like 3 months. It was rough. But like what finally set the stake in the coffin, I guess, was when I realized that I was going to have to quit because my goal is to get out of Corpus Christi before the end of 2021. I'm hoping to go to Houston. So I was going to have to quit anyways. And I was actually struggling to finish up high school. So that was kind of the nail in the coffin.
Mm.
Because like I was gonna have to quit eventually, so I was just like, you know what? Let's just buckle down, feel less stress, and let's just focus on life.
What you're talking about kind of made me think of so many in-game scenarios when you have to decide, am I going to let this person die, hold them in my arms basically, or that last, all right, see you dude, and you're running away from them. How are you able to make that decision of, I need to be selfish in this moment and you got to do what you got to do. I'm Samuro, I'm split pushing, I have to keep going, I'm sorry, I have to let you die. How do you stay okay with those things instead of being emotionally pulled in dying with your team?
A lot of it's probably communication. Usually, if you see in competitive play, there will be a call from someone to just let them die, basically. It feels kind of bad, but sometimes you get in those scenarios where it's better to just leave one behind than 3 or 4 die. And it's one of those things that at that certain moment, it feels bad. But once you analyze it back again, like a few seconds later, you realize it was the best decision and it makes sense at the time. And I think that's what kind of gets you through those moments for sure.
Even as you say that, that's such an interesting link back to that job you had of, yeah, it feels real bad right now, but looking back, you're like, oh, that's probably the best decision that I need to
Oh, it
make.
was so worth it, man. I'm like, I feel so much less stressed all the time. I just have way more energy to do things.
How has the HOTS performance been now that you have no work and can just
I
focus on
feel
it?
like I'm still inconsistent, but I have higher highs. Consistency is actually something I'm going to work on after I graduate. My plan is once I graduate, literally the only two things I have to focus on is my college applications, which I already have in, so I'm just kind of waiting on confirmation. After that, it's literally just kind of chill and just do whatever I really want. Oh, I do need to get my license as well. But besides that, all I'm going to do is like sit down and play HOTS and just have fun. And I'm going to see what I can do after I graduate. I'm hoping by the time CCL playoffs hit, I'll be as consistent as I can. Is my goal.
What would you say is like your long-term plans with gaming? Like, where do you want to go with this?
For now, I am kind of treating it as a very busy hobby. My hope is that one day this will turn into a job. I'll get to look back and be like, man, I remember that interview with Psych Sensei with Ryan. It was a good time. And that's what I'm hoping will happen after seeing the death of HGC and everything. I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to try to get that college stuff. No, I don't know what I want to do. I'm going through a very indecisive phase of my life, so I'm keeping HOTS as a hobby that I hope becomes a reality. And if I see that opportunity, I'm going to kind of put stuff on pause and I'm going to focus on that opportunity.
What pieces of advice would you have for new gamers or gamers that are trying to strive to be the next Funz?
I would recommend just don't be afraid of risks. You're going to have to give stuff up. That's life in general. And that's what I'm struggling with right now. Having to make all these decisions, going out into the real world, no longer a high school student. That's something I literally struggle with every day is like, do I want to go into the military? Do I want to go to college? Do I want to do community college? Don't be afraid to make decisions and you're going to have to give stuff up. Like that's just life. But it's okay. You just got to be confident in your decision. You got to go full throttle with whatever decision.
Damn, that's so powerful. I think the meta for me, I think it's really funny as like a 30-something-year-old talking to like an 18-something-year-old and be like, holy shit, these are facts. Like, I wish I listened to you when I was 18 to have this much confidence in my own decision making and be like, damn, that's something I want to do. I'm going to go for it. I think this conversation is very eye opening for me. And I'm kind of just in awe of your mindset and the way that you've developed it and just the perspective that you have at such a young age. And that's why I think the word of prodigy is still applicable.
If you want to say it like that, I'm not going to stop you.
I think I'm just so impressed about how you are able to not only think about the game and your approach to the game and how you conceptualize it and how you've learned it and being intentional in it. But also, I think the sense of maturity that you have as a person and the outlook that you have on life, I think that it's so impressive. I think I've talked to a lot of 18-something-year-olds and they're just trying to figure out how to do the tutorial. And it sounds like you're playing the damn game. You know what I mean?
It was a lot of mistakes. I usually don't like to talk about like my childhood and stuff. I use video games as an outlet for a lot of it to kind of distract myself. A lot of like the family struggles we went through, but it comes down to just making a lot of mistakes. And learning from them is, I think, what helps a lot.
It seems like you're able to use those mistakes to learn and move forward. What helped you do that instead of making the mistakes and just shutting down? What helped you take that perspective of making mistakes?
I'm not really sure, honestly. Maybe since I played football since such a young age, just having that support, you're with the boys, hanging out, working out, maybe that instilled some confidence in me. Because when I played football in high school, like the 1 year I played, we went 0-12.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, dude, it's so funny. So we went 0-12. Next year, I had to quit, and I actually had to change high schools because of family situations. They lost everything that year. They didn't win a game. Junior year, the same people I know didn't win a game. Come senior year, though, I was so hyped. They won their first game senior year. Yes. I was so excited. I was like, I saw it on everybody's like Snapchat stories, and I was like, let's go. I remember that grind. And I think they ended up winning 2 or 3 games that season.
Nice.
We had really good coaches. Maybe the coach guidance basically telling us like those mistakes happen. It is okay. It's just a start. I think maybe that's what helped me a lot. I'm honestly not sure though. That's a really good question. I have to think about that one.
Yeah, because I think that's something most people struggle with, especially with the negative self-talk or the fear of failure, and then it happens. It's usually, I would say, most people kind of shut down or say, like, okay, I'm never fucking doing that thing again. Versus it seems so interesting where you were able to say like, dude, I made a bunch of mistakes. And because I've made those mistakes, I learned a lot, and then I just keep moving forward. I mean, yes, that's absolutely what you're supposed to be doing, but just to see someone so young being able to say that in their head is really admirable and impressive, I think.
That being said, though, we're all people, right? We're all humans. We all have emotions. I'm not sitting here like, oh, I'm a pogger's mindset all the time, 24/7. I have my lows. I have those moments where I just feel absolutely lost. I feel like I'm literally sitting there like, I have no clue what I'm doing. And that's okay. Like, that's the thing. It's okay. Like, that's just how it is. And I think that's important to understand is like, you're going to have those moments of you're lost, you're fearful, you're scared, you lost a lot of money, or like you lost friends or whatever. It's going to happen. It's okay.
Does that ever happen to you in games?
In games, yes. Like you could talk about this season CCL. Our first like series, 0-3. Second series, 1-3. Like we got kind of bodied early on, but you know, we got that win versus Wildheart. I'm never going to stop talking about that. And that's the thing, like we kept trudging on. Like I had those moments of like mental boom. Like I was like, oh, I'm playing so bad because I had to build a whole new synergy, a whole new team environment, a whole new staff, whole new org. And we had to basically build that from the ground up. Like that's literally how it started. Like that's the story of Diamond Hands. It was all about building that infrastructure from the ground up. And we're getting there. We're genuinely getting there. I'm really excited to see how it will turn out. There's been a lot of tears, a lot of sweat going into this org here from the players for sure. And a lot of that comes from Chris. He's been so helpful throughout this whole CCL process. He is the most transparent dude, almost too transparent, but I'm glad he trusts us. Ever since the beginning, he was just so adamant about players first, helping the players, making sure they have a comfortable environment. And he carried that on into Diamond Hands. That's why like he helped us a lot with the team environment stuff, but it's something we're still working on. We're still going to strive towards greatness for sure.
Shout out to Chris for sure. I think that's so important for players in general to have that team environment, but especially for you, I think that's something you thrive in that you really, really need. So I think if it was that football-esque coach discipline, do this now, monkey dance, it wouldn't be so fun for you funds.
Oh my God. Sorry, I need to touch on something.
Go for it, dude. I saw the light bulb
Dude.
go off, bro.
Something else. Do not be afraid to rely on other people.
Oh shit.
Oh my God. There's so many people that have helped me out. Not even just HOTS, like in real life and work or anything. Do not be afraid to ask for help, ask for advice. It is so helpful. Even though I'm a CCL player, you know, I'm top of the top or whatever you want to say, I still ask people for advice. Like I'm asking people, what should I be doing on Samro differently? What should I be doing this and this? There's so many like great minds out there that can really give you a whole nother perspective that you didn't even know about. Don't be afraid to ask help, ask for people.
What do you think holds most people back from asking for help or advice from other people?
So I was in academic decathlon for about 2 years. I never
Flex.
actually studied. Let me clear this out. Basically what happened is I started my junior year at King High School, where it was like my first time. I was a junior. It was kind of awkward, whatever. And this old lady walks up to me and is like, "Hey, do you like food?" I'm like sitting there. Yeah.
It's a weird pickup line, but I'm into it.
Period. And I was like, yeah, sure. I like having a free period. She's like, you should join academic decathlon. Because you gotta understand, I'm one of those C students that like doesn't like doing homework. I hate homework. I'm more of like an in-person, like hands-on type stuff. So usually my grades aren't the best, but I usually score really well on tests. And academic decathlon is all about tests, except for one category. It's the speech category. And I actually touched on the topic of, you know, being a macho man, you know,
like toxic masculinity or something like that.
Yeah, toxic masculinity. Exactly.
I got you, baby.
It's so instilled into us since we're born. And I think that actually hurts a lot of people. You're told, figure it out on your own. You don't need to ask for help. Do it yourself. I just feel like that's not how humans are. You know, we're a very social species. We work together on things. You don't just sit there and all of a sudden you're a perfect human that just doesn't need help and you're just going to solve world hunger or stuff. You're going to need help. You're going to need to talk to people. You're going to need to get knowledge and stuff.
I think that's so important because I think what gets in the way to add it is that ego. I think it's really interesting how you linked that back to toxic masculinity and how we are social creatures and how it's so important for us to cross-pollinate ideas and thoughts. It can only do that by asking questions and humbling that ego. Dude, I was vibing with you so hard. I got lost track of time. I want to be mindful because I know that you have scrims later on today.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know it's already...
I only caught it because the chat went up. I was like, oh, I have to look. I mean, we've just been vibing. Kevin would love to wrap this up with any pieces of advice for players, coaches, anyone, anything you want to tell people or the piece of positivity or what have you. Go for it, dude.
Don't be afraid, man. You got to take those risks and don't be afraid to rely on other people. It helps out so much more than just trying to go in there by yourself and try to just do everything yourself. Don't be afraid to rely on other people. And like relying on other people can be such a beautiful thing because that person you rely on now feels good. They feel like they're helping. And it's such a good feeling. Don't be afraid and just rely on people. I guess that's what we'll go with.
I love it. Don't be afraid and rely on people. Love it. Love it. I would just like to say, dude, Funz, thank you for sitting down with me for an hour and some change. I think it was such a pleasure learning from you, my friend, about your perspective, your mindset. I love how, as a fellow Quickmatch warrior, how, people say like, Quickmatch, that's not the real game. What are you playing for? But actually how your mindset was created in Quickmatch and dealing with the chaos and being able to roll with it, being patient with yourself. I think that's so cool. And this fearlessness of leaning into things that are difficult, being patient with yourself, trying things out, being vocal, going for it. Man, I learned so much, and I hope everyone that's listening, learned a little bit more about you and can apply some of these freaking gems that you dropped on us, Funz, and apply them to our own life, man. Because, dude, I'm so impressed with the way you see life, the game. Your perception is just A1, man. And I'm so excited to see what you can produce in the game, out of game. You're so young. You have so much potential. Oh, I'm so excited.
Dude, thanks for having me. I had a great time. I literally lost track of time. I forgot we had the limit to kind of keep things. I don't know. I just feel great being able to share these experiences to an audience, to you, not even just an audience. Like, it's been a great time, and I appreciate you having me, man.
I'd love to have you back again. I'm sure this is going to be the first of many Funz Hangout sessions, man. You're always welcome to come share your story, share your thoughts. Funz, where can everyone catch you if they want to talk with you, their Discord, all of it? Where can they find you, bro?
I mainly use Twitter for any kind of like communications at Funz_HOTS. After I graduate, I will be looking to stream some more HOTS soon.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's at twitch.tv/FunzTV. A lot of TVs in there. I also want to just shout out the org real quick. Their Twitter handle is at Diamond Hands Org. They are the backbone of our CCL supporting. They hand out the payments. They keep us happy. And gonna shout out my mom. Of
Oh,
course.
yep.
Gotta shout out to mom. Love my mom.
Shout out to mom, shout out to mom, shout out to Diamond Hands. And if you want to see more of Funz, or if you want to hang out with him, follow him at the Twitter at Funz_hots. And you can also catch him on Twitch.
It's usually gonna be Saturday or Sunday at Heroes Heart CCL.
Hero Hearts CCL, you can catch my man playing on Saturday or Sunday. Hopefully he'll play maybe Akira, maybe some Samuro, something crazy. Yo, honestly, Funz, thank you so much for being here. Had a great time, lost track of time. That's how bomb it was. Oh, wait, question. How do you control your tilt or help others control their tilt? So how do you control your tilt? One last one for the road, bro.
The thing with tilts is a lot of people associate it with just the game. To me, there's a lot more factors to why I'm being tilted. You gotta understand that tilt is natural. Everybody feels tilts at times. I felt tilt plenty of times. But if you better other scenarios in your life, like you start eating better sleep schedule, that's something I'm working on. And don't be afraid to take breaks. Like I actually took a break from HOTS yesterday and today because I was feeling pretty tilted from Storm League. Just be cognizant of that emotion and figure out ways that helps you untilt. Like it's different from person to person. I'll just share like what I like to do. I like to just take a break, hang out with my dog. One thing that actually really helps me is getting some sunshine. Like just sitting outside in the sun for a few minutes, just chilling.